73% of senior executives report their cognitive performance deteriorates by mid-afternoon. Not because they lack capability. Because they've surrendered control of their attention before they surrendered control of their calendar. This is the inversion that costs organizations billions. You wake up at 5:30. Discipline. You hit the gym. Commitment. Then you check your phone. One message becomes 5. An urgent Slack thread you're already late to. A calendar you didn't build. A day you didn't choose. By 9 a.m., you've already made 30 micro decisions you didn't want to make. Your prefrontal cortex is depleted before your coffee is cold. And you'll spend the next 9 hours managing the consequences of decisions other people made for you. The brutal truth. Most executives don't have a calendar problem. They have a thinking problem. And they're protecting the symptom instead of the disease. Recent research from the World Economic Forum shows that 68% of knowledge workers in Asia-Pacific report their focus time has declined by more than 20% over the past 2 years. Not because they're working harder. Because no one is protecting their attention as a strategic asset. This isn't about time management. This isn't about another productivity app. This is about understanding that your thinking is the only competitive advantage you actually own. Everything else can be outsourced, replicated, or automated. Over the next 8 minutes, we're going to walk through 3 principles that executives at companies like DBS Bank, Infosys, and Atlassian are using to reclaim their cognitive real estate. Not by saying no to everything. By saying yes to their own thinking first, you'll understand why the most productive day you ever have feels like the least productive one. You'll see exactly where most executives lose control of their attention. And you'll have a framework you can implement before your next calendar review. First principle. Declare your thinking time as non-negotiable operational time. Not personal time. Not self-care. Operational time. This is the language that works in a boardroom. According to McKinsey's 2026 executive research, leaders who protect a minimum of 5 hours per week for uninterrupted strategic thinking report a 42% improvement in decision quality and a 31% reduction in reactive decision-making. Not marginal gains. Significant ones. Here's what most executives do. They carve out thinking time after everything else is handled. After meetings. After emails. After the fires are out. Which means thinking time never happens. Because there is no after. The executives who see the results do the inverse. They block their thinking time first Tuesday and Thursday mornings. 7 to 9 a.m. Non-negotiable. No meetings. No interruptions. No exceptions. Then they build everything else around it. Look at Vishal, a chief product officer at a scale-up in Bangalore. He was drowning in meeting velocity. 14 meetings a week. No focused time to actually evaluate his product strategy. He was reacting to every stakeholder instead of leading the direction. He implemented a simple rule. Tuesday and Thursday before 8 a.m. were off limits. Not for meditation. For product thinking. For asking questions like, what decisions am I making from reactive pressure versus what the data actually suggests? Where are we optimizing for short-term velocity at the expense of long-term architecture? Within 3 months, his team reported clarity on product direction increased by 60%. And ironically, he took fewer meetings because his decisions were sharper. Application. Pick 2 non-consecutive blocks this week. 3 hours total minimum. Block them in your calendar now. Do not negotiate them away. The content of what you think about doesn't matter yet. Protect the space first. Second principle. Sleep and stress resilience are not wellness metrics. They are performance infrastructure. This is where most executives fail catastrophically. They optimize their calendar and their diet and their workout. But they treat sleep like an optional luxury. And they treat stress resilience like something that happens to other people. Deloitte's 2026 Global Executive Resilience Study found that senior leaders in Asia Pacific who consistently get 6.5 to 7 hours of sleep show a 54% improvement in complex problem solving under uncertainty. That's not motivation science. That's neurology. Here's what happens to your brain when you're running on 5 hours of sleep. Your amygdala activates 40% more intensely to threats. You perceive more conflict than exists. You make conservative, risk-averse decisions instead of calculated bets. You become a firefighter instead of a strategist, and here's what executives rarely admit. The person making decisions on 5 hours of sleep isn't actually you. It's a depleted version of you that your brain has optimized for survival, not success. Priya, an operations director at a financial services firm in Singapore, was consistently sleeping 4 to 5 hours. Her schedule was back-to-back. Her stress was chronic. She was proud of the productivity. Her decisions were deteriorating rapidly. But she didn't have enough cognitive capacity to notice. The turning point came when she realized her sleep deprivation was costing her organization more in poor decisions than she could ever save through additional waking hours. So she implemented a non-negotiable rule. Lights off by 10:30 p.m. Non-negotiable. Full stop. Within 2 months, her team reported she was asking better questions. Her decision-making was faster. And counterintuitively, she was getting more done with fewer waking hours because those waking hours were actually functional. Application. Map your sleep debt. Don't estimate it. Track it for 1 week. If you're averaging less than 6.5 hours, that becomes your first operational priority. Not your next wellness initiative. Your first business priority. Protect that sleep the same way you protect a board meeting. Because it is one. Third principle. Create friction between you and low-value interruption. Your default state is reactivity. Not because you lack discipline. Because your system is designed for interruption. Your phone, your notifications, your Slack, your email all have one job. Get your attention immediately. IDC research from 2025 found that the average knowledge worker in the Asia-Pacific region checks email 17 times per hour during core working hours. Not 17 times per day. Per hour. And each context switch takes an average of 23 minutes to recover full cognitive engagement. That's not a productivity problem. That's a cognitive emergency. The executives who protect their thinking don't use willpower. Willpower is finite. They use structure. They make good behavior easy and bad behavior inconvenient. Consider what Rajesh, a managing director at a consulting firm in Delhi, did. He didn't delete his email or turn off his phone. Instead, he created friction. Email access only at noon and 4 p.m. Slack notifications off entirely during focus blocks. An actual assistant whose job was to triage urgency. He reported an initial 24-hour wave of anxiety. The feeling that everything would collapse if he wasn't responding immediately. Then clarity emerged. 87% of the messages he was interrupting himself for didn't actually require immediate response. They required a response, but not an immediate one. His focus blocks went from 30-minute fragments to unbroken 90-minute sprints. His strategic output increased measurably. His stress decreased. Application. Audit your interruption sources for 1 week. Where are your attention thieves? Not where you think they are. Where they actually are. Phone, Slack, email, meetings. Then implement one structural change. Not a behavioral one. A structural one. Delete the app. Route notifications to a different device. Block the hours. Build friction between you and the interruption. The executive you become when you protect your thinking first is almost unrecognizable from the one running on depleted attention and fragmented focus. You walk into a meeting and you're not there to defend your previous decision. You're there to actually evaluate what the data shows. You ask better questions because your brain has the fuel to go deeper than surface-level reaction. You sleep better because your body isn't flooding with cortisol from chronic urgency. You have the cognitive capacity to actually notice that the urgency is manufactured, not real. Your team reports a different experience. Instead of a leader who's responding to everything, they see a leader who's actually thinking, who has the mental space to develop them instead of just directing them, who makes decisions from principle instead of pressure. Your organization begins to shift. Because clear thinking from the top doesn't stay at the top. It cascades. People start asking, if my CEO is protecting focus time, maybe I should too. If this leader is sleeping 8 hours and still delivering, maybe the... Thanks for listening. If you found this valuable, please subscribe to Apex Minds D4J for more powerful insights. See you in the next one.